The greatest comebacks in history didn't begin with excitement. They began with humiliation, loss, failure, rejection. A moment a reality hits harder than your ego can defend. And suddenly, you see the truth. You're not where you thought you'd be. You're not who you thought you'd become. But here's the part most people misunderstand. Rock bottom is not the end of the story. It's the clearest moment of your life. Because when everything falls apart, two things become obvious: what doesn't work anymore and who you must become next. Every legendary comeback begins with the same decision, not to escape the fall, but to use it as fuel. And in this video, we're going to break down the psychology behind the greatest comebacks and how you can build one yourself. Let's get straight to point one. Accept the brutal reality. Because most people experience failure, but never truly analyze it. Instead, they instinctively protect their ego. They attribute the outcome to circumstances. They blame poor timing. They point to other people. Psychologically, this is known as self-serving bias, the mind's tendency to protect self-image by externalizing failure. But the individuals who engineer powerful comebacks respond differently. They treat failure as information. They deliberately examine what went wrong with emotional distance and analytical precision. Failure, when examined correctly, exposes three critical weaknesses: habitual patterns that undermine progress, cognitive blind spots that distort judgment, overconfidence that exceeds actual capability. At that point, a critical realization emerges. Your current situation is not random. It is the predictable outcome of repeated patterns. Patterns of thinking, patterns of behavior, patterns of discipline. And this realization contains the first real advantage of a comeback. If patterns created the decline, new patterns can engineer the recovery. But that shift only begins when you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking a far more productive question: what specifically produced this result? Because a comeback does not begin when emotions improve. It begins when perception becomes accurate. Step 2. Kill the old identity. Most people try to make a comeback while staying the same person. That never works. Because the version of you that created the collapse cannot be the same version that builds the comeback. This is where most people get stuck. They try harder, they push more, they add motivation, but they never question the identity behind their behavior. The habits stay the same, the thinking stays the same, the standards stay the same, and eventually, the same results return. Real comebacks require something deeper: identity reconstruction. You stop asking, "How do I fix my life?" and you start asking, "Who would I have to become for this problem to disappear?" Because behavior follows identity. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you will act inconsistent. If you see yourself as unlucky, you will subconsciously expect failure. But when identity changes, behavior follows automatically. This is why the greatest comeback stories always include a moment where someone says, "That was the old me." Not because they improved slightly, but because they became someone else entirely. And the moment that shift happens, the comeback truly begins. Step 3. Shrink the comeback. When people imagine a comeback, they imagine something dramatic, a massive transformation, a sudden victory, a moment where everything changes overnight. But that's not how real comebacks work. Real comebacks are microscopic. They start with embarrassingly small actions: waking up on time, finishing one task, keeping one promise to yourself. Because after a major failure, your brain doesn't trust you anymore. Every broken promise you made in the past created internal doubt, and the only way to rebuild that trust is through evidence, small wins, repeated daily. One completed task becomes proof. Proof becomes confidence. Confidence becomes momentum, and momentum becomes identity. This is why the greatest comebacks often look boring from the outside. No dramatic speeches, no sudden explosions of success, just a quiet pattern repeating every day. Small action, kept promise. Small action, kept promise. Until one day, people call it an overnight success. But what they're really seeing is thousands of tiny victories finally compounding. Step 4. Control the environment. Most people try to build a comeback using willpower, but willpower is fragile. It fades when you're tired, it disappears when you're stressed, and it collapses when temptation is nearby. That's why real comebacks are built through environment design. Instead of forcing discipline, you remove friction. You change the conditions around you. Because your environment quietly controls more behavior than motivation ever will. Look at your daily surroundings, your phone, your workspace, your schedule, the people around you. Every one of these things is either supporting your comeback or quietly sabotaging it. The people who rebuild their lives understand something powerful. If failure was partly built by their environment, then the comeback must be engineered through it. They remove distractions. They create spaces designed for focus. They spend more time around people who demand higher standards, not because they suddenly became stronger, but because they made the right behaviors easier and the wrong behaviors harder. Eventually, discipline becomes less about forcing yourself and more about living in a system that pulls you forward. Step 5. Use pain as permanent fuel. Most people try to forget their failures. They hide them. They bury them. They try to move on as quickly as possible. But the people who make the greatest comebacks do the opposite. They remember, not to punish themselves, but to create fuel. Because pain is one of the strongest motivational forces the brain can store. When you clearly remember the moment you lost, the embarrassment, the regret, the realization that you fell short, that memory becomes energy. A quiet reminder of what happens when you drift. A reminder of the standards you refuse to fall below again. This is why many of the most successful people keep a private relationship with their past failures. They don't run from them. They carry them forward, not as shame, but as momentum. Because the truth about the greatest comebacks is this: they are not powered by inspiration. They are powered by refusal. Refusal to return to the person you used to be. Refusal to repeat the same patterns. Refusal to waste the lesson that failure gave you. And when that refusal becomes permanent, the comeback stops being temporary. It becomes your new standard.